Yes, cold open. Sorry. This thing said I didn't share it like it was gone. Okay. My bad. Yes, cold open to you. Yee. I'm going to need somebody to tap this screen for me after we cold open. Shake it, shake it, shake it.
After the cold open.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Getting ready to push the intro.
Hey, everybody. Today is Monday, February the 26th, and you are watching FCN Prime News. I'm Transgender, and I've got great news stories for you guys today, including Quincy Jones decided to apologize, as well as someone wants Clarence Thomas to go under review under the MeToo movement. J-Co is in the studio with me today as well. J-Co, what stories do you have over there in Prime Sports?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to FCN2 Prime Sports Desk. Got a lot of good stories for you today. NCAA stories, I got Olympic wrap-up stories, and something very exciting is starting in the sports world. Woo! Want to know what it is? Stay tuned. Back to you, Trey.
All right, y'all. In my top crime story for today, a pedophile who raped a baby was found dead in his jail cell with his penis completely chopped off. James King, age 31, was sentenced to serve 24 years in prison for raping a 3-month-old baby and filming it. King was part of a sick, depraved gang that took delight in drugging and raping babies, which was described by his judge as evil beyond rational understanding. But King didn't get to serve that 24 years because as soon as inmates at the Bristol, England jail learned about the nature of King's crimes, hits were taken out on his life. According to a fellow inmate, King knew his days were numbered because a fellow gang member and his co-defendant, who was serving time for the same crime, got sugared in prison. For those of us who need to brush up on our prison lingo, sugaring is a form of torture of mixing sugar and boiling water and pouring it on someone's skin where it acts like acid and melts the skin completely off. Looks like somebody paid attention in their 7th grade science class, made it work for them in prison. But I digress. King was half right. Hitting men were coming for him, but with an even grislier fate. Days later, prison officers found King beaten, unconscious, and his penis had been not sliced, not cut, but sawn off. Yes, a rusty, jagged edge sawn off. The convicted pedophile was taken to a hospital but died days later. According to a prison spokesperson, there are no leads regarding who might be responsible for the act, which is PR speak for we ain't spending no time or money to figure out how justice got served. This next story is for all of you who try to be slick in the self-checkout line at the grocery store to save a few dollars. You know, when you want to buy an expensive piece of fruit, like cherries, but you ring it up as bananas. Well, a man in Germany tried that same thing, and it got him fined $256,000. A 58-year-old businessman whose income is about $30,000 a month and whose identity has yet to be revealed, decided to scan $58 worth of veal liver as fruit. Yes, this man put raw meat in a fruit bag and rang it up as fruit, and he's been in jail ever since. The man, who has previous convictions for theft and tax evasion, admitted to pulling the same self-service trick 3 times that same month. Why didn't this dude just pay for his meat with his well-to-do salary? We'll never know, because he's given no reason for his actions and he is not appealing his verdict. So this next story presents one of the biggest conundrums for me when it comes to understanding murder. I cannot understand why people choose to kill their spouses rather than just leave them. It's not because I don't understand that making a person you can't stand disappear will make your life easier. I get that. But because with technological and medical advances, 99% of y'all are not getting away with murder, including this idiot. Authorities say 32-year-old Michael Wilson rigged a booby trap so that he could electrocute his pregnant wife. His father-in-law became suspicious after learning that Wilson kept telling his wife that when she got home, make sure you use the front door, but don't let our daughter touch the doorknob. Dumb criminals. During this time, Wilson then disappeared from their home without any explanation or notice, and after sending an obligatory dumb criminal text accusing his wife of cheating. The wife's father then called the police. Police found burn marks on the front door, which left off a large spark when they kicked it open. And inside, they found the doorknob and the deadbolt attached to a car battery charger. An electrician who was called in by police looked at the booby trap and determined that there was an 80 to 100% chance of death or great bodily injury if the wife had touched that doorknob. Wilson was arrested in Tennessee and charged with attempted aggravated battery on a pregnant person. At the time of his arrest, his Facebook page had already been updated to widowed. What an idiot. In the state of South Carolina, legislators are tired of seeing butt cracks and dirty draws and decided to do something about it. In a joint effort by both Republicans and Democrats, South Carolina legislators have proposed a law banning sagging pants. The bill would make it illegal to expose skin or underwear by wearing their pants, quote, 3 inches below the crest of his ilium, which, as indicated here on this picture, is basically the top of the hips. While the law wouldn't make it a criminal offense to sag, it would make an offender subject to fines and community service punishments. Violators will be fined $25 for the first offense, $50 or 3 hours of community service for a second offense, or $75 or 6 hours of community service for a third or subsequent violations. Lawmakers insist that this isn't to target minorities, as they say they have seen men of all races walking around with this problem. They say it's a warning to encourage men to be more responsible. In a plot twist, the sponsor of the bill said that the measure allows men to be treated the same as women. He says that if a woman was to go around in the same fashion with pants or her skirt by her knees or her waist, it will be seen as indecent exposure. Touche, sir. Touche. As the U.S. is targeting the NRA and trying to move closer to the removal of Trump as president, one journalist would like us to shift our attention to removing Clarence Thomas from the Supreme Court. Jill Abramson wrote an article in New York Magazine with the headline, "Do You Believe Her Now?" arguing that it is time to re-examine the evidence that Clarence Thomas lied to get onto the Supreme Court and to talk seriously about his impeachment. The article focuses on Mariah Smith, an attorney in Alaska, who made a Facebook post in 2016 describing being groped by Justice Thomas while at a dinner party in 1999, where some witnesses say they never saw the two alone, while others corroborated the fact that she was groped. The article also rehashes Anita Hill's testimony and shares the testimony of another witness, Angela Wright Shannon, who was subpoenaed to testify at Thomas's confirmation hearings, but was not called. A story about Mariah Smith's account was published in 2016 by a highly regarded reporter for the National Law Journal, but it was immediately buried by a much bigger story, the James Comey letter reopening the Hillary Clinton email probe. For those who aren't familiar with Jill Abramson, she served as the executive editor of the New York Times before being fired in 2014 for lying to both the Times publisher and its chief executive, as well for the public mistreatment of her colleagues. So there's that. Clarence Thomas has a crucial vote on the Supreme Court and holds incredible power over women's rights, workplace and reproductive and otherwise. He has served as an associate justice on the Supreme Court for a total of 26 years and 4 months, the second longest tenure on the Supreme Court to date. He was appointed after the end of a tenure for the first Black American to be appointed, which was Thurgood Marshall. Thomas is overwhelmingly conservative in his ideologies, including civil rights, taxation, and the First Amendment. In this hashtag MeToo era, should Clarence Thomas' confirmation hearing transcript be reviewed for lying under oath And should he be removed from the bench upon being found guilty of an aggressive, consistent practice of sexual misconduct with women? I don't know, guys. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. While we're on the topic of Me Too, one man isn't happy with his recent firing for sexual misconduct allegations and has decided to fire back. Tavis Smiley, whose PBS series was pulled from the air in December after accusations of sexual misconduct in the workplace were leveled against him, has now filed a lawsuit against his former employer. The lawsuit was filed last week in Washington, D.C., and accuses PBS of acting in a racially hostile manner for years. Smiley claims PBS harassed him about inviting controversial black figures on his show while remaining silent when he brought equally, if not more, controversial white figures on his show. He said this happened multiple times during the 14 years he was with PBS. Of course, Smiley goes on to address his firing in the lawsuit by claiming PBS launched an investigation that was poorly executed and incomplete, all in violation of the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing in his contract, against it being the only show featuring a person of color as the host. He says that they always viewed him as not a team player type of black person that PBS would prefer to be hosting a nightly national news and public affairs program. He also alleged PBS dragged its feet in interviewing him about the accusations and for refusing to provide substance of the allegations and the names of his accusers. It should be noted that Charlie Rose was fired by PBS for sexual misconduct allegations in November 2017 before Tavis. Y'all think this suit is BS? Or is he right for fighting for a chance to defend himself? Again, y'all go ahead and let me know what you think in the comments. In a small victory for immigration policy in America, the lawsuit to decide the fate of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals law reached the Supreme Court today, and they declined to hear the case. Trump, via his Justice Department, asked the Supreme Court to reverse a California district court's opinion that blocked Trump's attempt to end the DACA program. The court's denial was expected, as Supreme Court justices rarely accept appeals asking them to intervene into a conversation that's happening in the lower courts. All of this means that 1, Trump may not be able to end the program on March 5th as he planned. 2, that the Trump administration has to keep accepting renewal applications for DACA. And 3, it gives Congress more time to come up with a legislative solution since bipartisan efforts so far have failed. If Congress does decide to act in the meantime to extend the program or provide an alternative path to citizenship for its recipients, the legal case at the lower court will likely be dismissed. This is all great news for all the dreamers whose status as citizens are up in the air. Trump hasn't been lucky either in the lawsuits against him personally and professionally that could provide basis for getting him out of office. Attorneys General of Maryland and the District of Columbia have expanded their lawsuits accusing Trump of accepting gifts from foreign and state governments, not only in his capacity as president, but also in his capacity as a businessman. The lawsuit filed in federal court in Maryland is one of several recent cases challenging Trump's ties to his business ventures and his refusal to divest from them. The suits allege that foreign governments' use of Trump's hotels and other properties violates the Constitution's emoluments clause, which bans the president's acceptance of foreign gifts and money without congressional approval. The clause is our nation's first anti-corruption law, and it has never been fully tested in federal court ever. Trump's Justice Department attorneys have argued that hotel room stays don't represent foreign gifts. Last month, during a 5-hour hearing on this issue in a Maryland courthouse, the U.S. District Judge suggested that plaintiffs amend their lawsuit to include suing the president in his personal capacity. The move Friday to amend that lawsuit means that Trump's personal lawyers will probably get involved in this suit as well. This is the first time that anyone has ever sued the president for violating this anti-corruption clause. It has been a headline-making ride for the beloved reality star turned White House staffer who on Sunday night was evicted from Celebrity Big Brother house during its 2-hour finale. And in true Omarosa fashion, there was plenty of melodrama in her final moments in the house. She compared the White House to a plantation. She said that the president tweets in his drawers and that the situation inside 1600 Penn was bad, like so bad. But none of those true White House confessions helped her stay in the house for the win to win Celebrity Big Brother. With her potential eviction looming, she had one last chance to plead her case in front of the other remaining house guests, and that speech was equal parts stump and sermon, after which Omarosa's fellow competitors unanimously voted her to get out of the Big Brother house. During her exit interview with Big Brother host Julie Chen, Omarosa said that the show gave her an opportunity to let her hair down and really be authentic. She added that she wanted to let people know who the true Omarosa is. We know who that is, girl. We know. Good luck with whatever you have coming out next. After shocking readers across the country, Quincy Jones is now apologizing for the very frank remarks he's made in interviews with GQ and Vulture. Quincy Jones says he's a, quote, 85-year-old bow-legged man who is still learning from his mistakes, unquote. Specifically, he says, I've learned that you shouldn't publicly spill very private, unquote, scorching hot tea. That's me talking. The 28-time Grammy-winning producer issued a lengthy apology Thursday on Twitter about his recent interviews that generated the very sensational headlines. He says, and I quote, I have learned my lesson. I am an imperfect human and I'm not afraid to say it. And I'm sorry and I'm not afraid to say that either. Apparently, Q's 6 daughters staged a family intervention to notify him of the, quote, silly things, unquote, he'd made public, including certain details about specific events that he said really didn't paint the full picture of his intentions or his experiences. He wrote, I'm sorry to anyone whom my words offended, and I'm especially sorry to my friends who are still here with me and to those who aren't. One of the hardest things about the situation is that this bad mouthing has contradicted the very real messages that I tried to relay about racism, inequality, homophobia, poverty, you name it. And of course, I don't want that, unquote. Most of the people Jones spoke about in the sweeping Vulture interview, Jimi Hendrix, Michael Jackson, Richard Pryor, and Marlon Brando among them are dead, but Jones said he personally apologized to those that he could. He said, and I quote, I have already reached out to my friends privately, but when you live a public life, you have a responsibility to be an example, and since I do lead a public life, I wanted to make a public apology, unquote. Jones did not specifically refer to any of the allegations in his apology, and that's because he said what he said. In 1992, a 20-year-old Black American woman stepped into an airplane's cockpit for the first time, and 10 years later, she makes history as the first Black woman pilot for FedEx. The young lady, in a blog post on FedEx's website, Tahira Lamont Brown shares that there were many obstacles in becoming a woman pilot in a field dominated by men, which wasn't helped by the fact that she didn't know any pilots and didn't know how she was going to pay for flight school. She said she worked 2 jobs to pay for college and for flight training. She said that she was fortunate enough to meet Bill Norwood, the first Black pilot at United Airlines, while she was going through school, and he introduced her to the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals, also known as OBAP. She said that introduction, she said, provided her with the guidance she needed and helped her with scholarships to pay for her flight training. She is still a very active, dedicated member of OPAP, and she is encouraging all young people of any gender and any age who are interested in aviation or aerospace to join the organization for support in achieving their dreams. In another huge first news, this time for the transgender community, medicine has figured out how to help trans women breastfeed. A 30-year-old transgender woman has become the first officially recorded to breastfeed feed her baby. An experimental 3.5-month treatment regimen, which included hormones, a nausea drug, and breast stimulation, enabled the trans woman to produce 227 grams of milk a day. The transgender woman has been receiving feminizing hormonal treatments for several years before she started the lactation treatment. These included testosterone blockers as well as progesterone. This regimen enabled her to develop breasts that looked fully grown, according to a medical scale that assesses breast development based on appearance. She said that she has not had any breast augmentation surgery at all in her transition. Within a month of treatment, the trans woman was able to express milk droplets. After 3 months of treatment, this increased to the 227 grams of breast milk per day. Once the baby was born, she was able to exclusively breastfeed the infant for 6 weeks, during which time a pediatrician confirmed the baby was growing and developing normally and healthily. Although significant, the 227 grams is still below the average of around 500 grams that a baby consumes by the time it is 5 days old. After 6 weeks, the woman did supplement her breastfeeding with formula. If you're wondering where this baby came from, it came from her cisgendered female partner. When her partner was, I wish I could see the faces and movement in the studio. When her partner was 5.5 months pregnant, the trans woman sought medical treatment at Mount Sinai Center for Transgender Medicine and Surgery in New York City. Her partner had no interest in breastfeeding, she explained, so the transgendered woman wanted to take on that role instead. I hope the trans woman enjoys the titty sag that comes with breastfeeding. A rising star at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is missing under the most suspicious and mysterious circumstances. Dr. Timothy J. Cunningham, a Morehouse and 2 degrees from Harvard educated epidemiologist, has been missing for 2 weeks after he went home from work early after feeling sick. As an epidemic intelligence officer, he's been deployed to respond to Zika virus, the Ebola virus, and other health emergencies caused by Hurricane Sandy. He is a prominent fixture in the Atlanta community, earning a spot in the Atlanta Business Chronicle's 40 Under 40 Awards last year. Cunningham, age 35, hasn't been seen or heard from since his family tried to check on him. They are offering a $10,000 reward in partnership with the Crime Stoppers of Greater Atlanta for information leading to the arrest and indictment in connection with the incident. His parents drove to his home when their calls and texts went unreturned. The door was locked, and using a spare key that they had, they found his keys, his cell phone, his wallet in the house, and his car in the garage, along with his beloved dog Bo, who their family is adamant their son would never leave behind unattended intentionally. For anyone who may have information on Dr. Timothy J. Cunningham's whereabouts, you are encouraged by the family and law enforcement to call Crime Stoppers Greater Atlanta. In my final story for tonight, before we kick to J-Co, Sridevi, Bollywood's leading actress of the 80s and 90s, has died at the age of 54. She's been described as the first female superstar in India's male-dominated film industry. She was known for her comedic timing and her song and dance numbers. Sridevi died on Saturday in Dubai of cardiac arrest after accidentally drowning in a bathtub. Dubai police say that there were traces of alcohol in her body, and according to local news reports, Sridevi accidentally lost balance when she fell into the bathtub and drowned. Sridevi was attending her nephew's wedding in Dubai with her husband, film producer Bonnie Kapoor, and her daughter. Initial reports claim Kapoor and Sridevi attended dinner together before the actress went to the bathroom to prepare for the evening. Kapoor said he had to force himself into the bathroom after receiving no response from knocking on the door, only to find his wife lying motionless in a bathtub full of water. In a career spanning 5 decades, Sridevi acted in 300 films and was awarded the Padma Shri, India's 4th highest civilian honor, in 2013. She began acting at the age of 4, appearing in several Tamil language films in the 60s and 70s, and eventually dropping out of school for a career in the movies. She was a feminist trailblazer, one of the only women in Bollywood who could lead a film without a male co-star. She studied languages and pushed for equal pay. She inspired millions fighting to change perceptions of women in cinema and still won over the hearts of a patriarchal nation. With that, I'm going to kick it over to Prime Sports, where Jacob was waiting to give you the top news stories for sports news stories for today.
Hey everybody, this is J-Co. You can follow me at J-Co-is-it, and welcome to the Prime Sports Desk, where I am bringing you a perspective that is not yours. We're going to start with the Olympics. Gold. Black bobsled excellence. However, my first story is not talking about an American. No. Bobsled driver Mariama Jamenka, the German driver who had never before won at any major bobsledding event, won the gold medal by driving the perfect race. In bobsledding, you're going around curves. There are specific lines that you can follow that are the absolute fastest from point A to point B. A little bit over to the right, a little bit to the left, too much wiggle waggle, and you will lose. And I will illustrate that with my next story. Jamenka, however, did not do that. She did the perfect driving race. She is the daughter of a Gambian man and a German-born woman, and was born and raised in Germany, and so raced for the German team. So I want to congratulate her. It was an excellent race coming out of nowhere. Nobody suspected it, and yet she got the gold. In second place, more black bobsled excellence. The U.S. women's bobsled team, Elena Myers-Taylor and Lauren Gibbs, both African-American women, won the silver. They lost by 0.03 seconds, which is literally the amount of time it takes you to blink your eyes. 0.03 seconds from gold. However, Elena Myers-Taylor, this is her second silver. She got the silver in Sochi. She was very excited about that. Of course, she would have rather gotten the gold, but anyone who appreciates the Olympic knows that a medal is something that not everyone can do and not everyone gets, and she appreciated it very much. And now on to the Whitey White hockey team, from black excellence to a colorless array of hockey players. However, these are women who excelled and did get the gold for the Americans. The U.S. hockey team, women's hockey team, beat Canada 3-2. What was big about this was the last two championships, the last two Olympics, they lost to this exact same Canada team. So this was their third try. Third try is a charm. They did redeem themselves, and they got the gold by playing their hearts out. This was the American women's hockey team first gold medal in 20 years. Speaking of gold medals, the United States did not do so well this year. They weren't, as far as place goes, that far off from the previous Olympics. They were in fourth place in the previous Olympics in Sochi, but they had more medals. This year, 23 total medals, only 9 gold. 2 of those were gotten on the last couple of days. The U.S. women's hockey team was able to bring up their gold medal count. It was going to be one of the worst in U.S. history. The other team that helped to bring that count up, before I say that, I'm sorry, the U.S. Olympics Committee's director, Alan Ashley, did say, we're going to do better next games, guys. We're going to do better. But as I was saying, the other team that brought that gold medal count up, the curling team, the men's curling team got gold. Why is Homer Simpson in this picture, you ask? Well, in the Boy Meets Curl, the 12th episode of the 21st season, Marge and Homer Simpson joined the United States mixed curling team, and even though Marge broke her arm, Homer still led the team to a gold medal. So yet again, the Simpsons predict the future. As my man Homer would say, USA,
USA, USA. Curling has the last couple Olympics, especially this Olympics, gained a lot of popularity. Why? I don't know. It was all up and down my timeline. Oh, curling is interesting. Curling is interesting. I dispute that because myself, Hulk H-Tone, and the Revolution were in the hardware store the other day. We grabbed a couple push brooms. We did a little curling test, and I think we did well enough to at least get a silver. And we have no training whatsoever. So curling sucks. For those of you who are pretending to like it, yeah, I'm calling you out. You're just saying it because it's trendy. But now everybody likes it, so it's not trendy anymore. Move on, people. Please, move on. In my next story, the NCAA AP Top 10 came out. Actually, the top 25. But in the top 10, Virginia is now the new number 1. We are getting ready. 2 days from now is March. And you know March means March Madness, the NCAA men's tournament. 64 teams go in, 1 come out. Virginia's number 1, Michigan State number 2. Xavier, although 2 of their losses are to number 4 Villanova, Xavier is number 3. This is the highest that this team has ever achieved in the school's history. So they were, needless to say, very excited about that. The field of, I think it's 67 now, but they end up doing actually 64 teams in the bracket once the preliminary rounds are over. That is going to be selected very soon. Mid-month, we're going to start that March Madness. You know, everybody goes crazy about that. I'm excited about basketball. I'm sure we'll talk about it on Thursdays. Speaking of the NCAA, you can't talk about the NCAA basketball without talking about scandal, right? Yeah. FBI versus NCAA. In a new plot twist, Arizona's men's head basketball coach, Sean Miller, reportedly is under investigation. They had wiretaps on Christian Dawkins, who was having conversations with Coach Miller about DeAndre Ayton. Coach Miller allegedly stated that they would be willing to pay $100,000 to ensure Dayton gets on Arizona's team. And they caught him on the phone saying this on your cell phone. This FBI probe runs deep. Louisville was neither the beginning nor the end. They are going to keep probing and keep probing until they get their together or not. We shall see. And in my final story, guess what, guys? I promise you something new, something fresh, something awesome coming up. That's right, spring training has started. Shown here, the St. Louis Cardinals, ready to go for the baseball season. These are 2 gentlemen who are not white on the majority white Cardinals. So it was very shocking to me that I even found a picture of 2 melanated men on this team. But hey, there they are, going for it. This year, I'm predicting it. St. Louis is going all the way. No questions asked. No doubt about it. You heard it here first. Perspective that isn't yours. I am Jay Cole. Thank you for watching FCN Sports. And now to end it off, I'm going to go back to Trezene. Trezene?
Okay, Jaco, you've got some comments here.
Oh, good.
One is from Shelby Catherine. She just wanted to give a shout out to March Madness.
Yeah.
And then Anthony Williams said he wants more LeVar Ball news. And then says maybe they should probe the White House like they do in the NCAA. Listen.
Great comment. They absolutely, the FBI should spend more time on things that matter besides college basketball. What a great point. That's why you host your own show.
Hey, I'm in agreement with you. I love NCAA scandal. I love all of it. There's so much going on. I have friends who are colleagues with the NCAA and enforcement, and we get in heated debates about y'all not in the business of amateurism. Just stop it. Let it go. Just let the money flow. So, yes, you're absolutely right. Let's see what else we have in the comments. Oh, Anthony Williams makes another comment about the men who killed the pedophile in jail and says, give them all good behavior. Give them all good behavior time. So, credit. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, credit for their good behavior. I agree with you on that. With regard to Clarence Thomas, quite a few comments. Anthony Williams, another great comment. He saves more than he gropes. know what?
Touche.
You know what though? He was silent on the court for like 10 years. Didn't say nothing as he sat on the bench in cases. I haven't heard a single allegation come out against him since in these 26 years.
Yeah, this guy is paid by somebody to do some distracting.
You know?
Let's bring a black man and drag him through the mud so that we don't think about the president and all his dirt.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But Lavinia Atkins said, nah, I always believed Anita Hill, and yes, review those transcripts. Ramon Javier Benitez says he always believed Anita Hill as well. She didn't lie. No reason to. She wasn't a pawn. And you're absolutely right. There was actually some of her testimony that was leaked to someone, and they leaked it to the committee to review. So she got subpoenaed because of that, not because she wanted to testify. So, what? Oh, we're on split screen? How dope is that? FCN is dope.
What up?
Oh my God,
FCN
it looks
is dope.
Amazing. Excuse me while I just look at this for a second. This looks great. You can't even see it.
I can't. I'm banned. Facebook has banned me for reasons unspecified.
This
look at that. Yo, that's hot. So we should talk more.
I know. Say something. You're the improv person. Give me some. No?
Really? You gonna put that on me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I actually did have a comment on one of your stories while you were reading the story, but now I can't remember what it was. Set you up. Improv that.
I can't. You know I can't. Yes, and I may no, but. All right, y'all. Well, look. Tomorrow is Tuesday. You know what that means. The Revolution will be here hosting Black Lightning pregame show. And then on Wednesday, Hockeyton will be here. Oh my God. Hockeyton will be here to host the Woo Show, giving you all your weekly updates for WWE, UFC, and all your combat sports. And then after that will be moi hosting the pregame show for ACS Versace. Yeah, it should be okay this time because the last episode was pretty good. It was about Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So other than that, Prime News will be back on Thursday at 7 p.m. Thank you all for watching.
And True Baller Thursday is also on Thursdays.
And
I don't know what time because I might have been bumped by the scandal, the Thursday wind down.
You did get bumped.
So I don't know what time we come on, but we're going to come on and we're going to stay on, talk all things NBA, maybe a little NCAA.
All right, y'all. Bye.